Now, for decades, there have been allegations about how Eugenio Pacelli, better known as Pope Pius XII, collaborated with the Nazis before and during World War II. Of course, the Vatican has always denied these charges, but they've kept their records locked up. They haven't allowed scholars to truly investigate the relationship between Pope Pius XII and Adolf Hitler. Well, all that changed 7 years ago when Cambridge University historian John Cornwell was given access to the secret Vatican archives. Indeed, Cornwell himself hoped that the rumors about Nazi collusion were untrue. But to his horror, he found the opposite. Document after document proved that Eugenio Pacelli, the man who became Pope in 1939, stands as a monumental moral failure. A man more concerned with centralizing church authority than with the murder of millions of people. A man not only complicit with the rise of the Nazi Party, but according to Cornwell, a man whose silence about the fate of the Jews betrayed a deeply embedded anti-Semitic attitude. Now, Cornwell put all this in his controversial new book, Hitler's Pope, The Secret History of Pius XII. And naturally, the Roman Catholic Church has strongly denied the claims of anti-Semitism, and some have even criticized Cornwell's scholarship. Well, I spoke to Cornwell recently and began by asking him about Pacelli's work in the 1930s in Germany, where he negotiated the now infamous treaty between the Vatican and Hitler's regime.
Well, first of all, why did he go to Germany? Why was he sent there? And the reason is the instrument, the effective instrument of creating an ideology out of the whole idea of papal primacy was this new drafting of a code of canon law. For the first time in the Church's history, we had a code of canon law. But they had a problem, and that problem was Germany, because Germany had one of the largest Catholic populations in the world, 23 million. It was wealthy, complex, highly sophisticated, many Catholic universities, publishing houses, 400 Catholic newspapers, and a really effective democratic political party called the Centre Party. So his purpose in Germany was to renegotiate all these old treaties and bring them in line with the new code, which effectively would submit the German Catholic population to a new allegiance to the Holy See. Year after year, he attempted to pursue this concordat, the Reich Concordat, and he was turned down by successive chancellors. It wasn't until Hitler emerged in power in January of 1933 that the chance for these two supreme authoritarians to come together and to do a deal came about.
Now, why would a pope make that deal? Why would they withdraw Catholics from the political field?
Pacelli, even before he became pope in relation to Germany, did not trust Catholic democracy. They did not like Catholic parties because they couldn't control them and because they thought that it might introduce democratization by the back door into the church itself.
And what were they afraid of? Why was democracy such a thing to fear for the church?
Well, they thought that it was uncontrollable, that's the first thing. But secondly, they really did view democracy as a precursor to socialism, which of course was a precursor to communism.
Once the Concordat is signed, Hitler is joyous, but so is Pacelli.
Hitler, in his very first public statement after the Concordat, said that this shows that the Vatican believes that it can live comfortably with fascism.
That it almost blesses the fascist project.
His great statement immediately after Hitler's, he states quite clearly that the triumph is actually the church's, because what the Concordat means is the acknowledgement by the German state of the right of the Holy See to impose canon law on all German Catholics. We see this powerful Catholic Church withdrawing from all social and political action, which includes the voluntary disbanding of the Centre Party after having voted for the Enabling Act, which gave Hitler his dictatorship. That was all part of the deal. We can now see, as we tell the narrative, I believe for the first time in a general work of history, that the price of this concordat, the price of this deal, was that the Catholic Centre Party, under the encouragement of Pacelli, should vote Hitler into his dictatorship and then voluntarily disband itself with the blessing of the Holy See, the Vatican, which is why so many Catholics after this went in their hundreds of thousands into the Nazi Party.
Now, one of the claims in this book is that he's actively anti-Jewish or anti-Semitic. He wrote the following passage during his time in Munich when he witnessed the Bolshevik uprising. Now, the Bolshevik uprising, just to remind people, many of the leaders were Jewish. And he wrote about seeing these Jews things like this. An army of employees were dashing to and fro, giving out orders. And in the midst of all this, a gang of young women of dubious appearance, Jews like all the rest of them, hanging around in the offices with lecherous demeanor and suggestive smiles. Throughout it, he calls them pale, dirty, drugged eyes, vulgar, repulsive, with faces that are intelligent and sly. Stereotypical anti-Semitic contempt, as you call it.
Yes.
The story which most shockingly reveals the Church's involvement took place right here in the Rhineland. Within 2 weeks of Adolf Hitler coming fully to power in March 1933, Cardinal Eugenio Pacelli, the Vatican foreign minister, sent him warm greetings. Treaty negotiations began between Pacelli and Hitler's vice-chancellor, Franz von Papen. In July, they signed the so-called Reichskonkordat, and the Vatican became the first foreign power to enter into a bilateral treaty with Hitler. Only a few days after signing the treaty for Hitler, von Papen represented the Führer at the unveiling of the robe in Trier. The robe that would not be shown again until 25 years later. The same robe that had come into the Gospels as proof that the Messiah had come. That robe had become the center of the celebration of the Church's treaty with Hitler. Over the next 3 weeks, more than 2 million pilgrims poured into Trier to see the robe, now the symbol of this alliance between church and state. Cardinal Pacelli went on to become Pope Pius XII. While it may be unfair to call him Hitler's Pope, it's not too much to call him Hitler's Cardinal.
Wir sollen heute nicht reden plötzlich des roten Christentums. Das werden wir in Schutz nehmen und nicht nur in der Theorie, nein, ausbrennen wollen wir die feindliche Erscheinungen unserer Kultur, unseres Theaters, unserer Literatur, ausbrennen dieses ganze Gift, das in diesen 14 Jahren in unser Leben hineingeflossen ist.